Hi there, I'm Henry, also known as Music Simplified, and this is something I don't normally do, but it's more of a technical review of the Evodio SC4070. I figured I might talk about the features because, I'm really not like this technical talk kind of guy. What I care about is, does it create new emotions within me? Does it make me want to explore music? Because even though I'm a professional when it comes to working with music, then I think just generally the vibe is very important. And just like, I'm more of a MacBook Pro kind of guy, I might say. The tools have to be great, but they also have to be inviting. But there are many things that they have thought about super well in this speaker. And I figured, I might just go over a few of the tech details that are important to me and maybe would be important to you. So there's two bass drivers here. They're 6.5 inches each, and I generally enjoy the 6.5 inch bass driver a lot in all of my audio gear. This is the preferred one for me. There's a dedicated mid-range driver, which allows for just like, if these bass drivers, they create sort of like a sphere around the room, then this mid-range driver allows for all of the mid-frequency sounds to really come at you and to become almost like touchable and visual. And, if you looked at my main review, then this mid-range driver is the big difference maker that creates the contrast between sort of the large experience of bass, or this chunky bass, but at the same time this very intimate and detailed mid-range and higher range as well. So it has a ribbon tweeter, again something that I've but I've had many speakers with ribbon tweeters, and I think it's a great feature because the detail it creates is always very soft in its presentation. It doesn't hurt your ears and it doesn't get sharp. And again, it creates this environment where you can listen to music for a long time without getting tired. But I think like the big important detail, or much of it, is actually this button here. Now, they have thought of many details when engineering this speaker, from the perspective of the user. And like I said, I'm more of a MacBook Pro guy, then this one has some of these MacBook Pro features as well. First of all, you can turn it on and off, here, which I just totally failed at. You gotta, keep it longer, hold it longer, then it will turn off. Well, let's try again. There you go, turning it off. And then again, naturally, you can turn it back on here. So, I always had to climb behind the speakers to turn them off. Here, I don't have to do that. It's right here. The panel is right here. Same go with all of the EQ settings, and, this has a DSP engine. So normally, you listen, you're like, I think the bass is off. Then you have to climb behind the speaker, like across all of your synthesizers and your gear or whatever, your panel, your mixing desk, and then you're gonna do this little change, you come back. What do you think? Do you actually remember what the bass sounded like, having 1 dB of bass more or less? By that time, you've already drifted off in your mind, and, it's hard to very precisely get your perfect sound if you always have to climb around, or just, the process takes time. So here, it's very easy. You choose low, and then you can go and you can, roll off the bass filter, or actually push it up a bit. Same with the mids and the high pass filter. So the lows here are from 300 Hertz and down. The mid filter is a 1 kilohertz boost or cut, and the high frequencies are above 3 kilohertz. Now, the way I have noticed myself using these speakers usually, I never add more than 1 dB, and I never cut more than 2 dB. like tiny adjustments depending sometimes even of the genre, but of the listening space and everything. Tiny adjustments sounds good, but I don't believe in making massive adjustments here, because this speaker, it's a specific design, it's a specific message and a specific experience. And if you go around doubling everything here, then you're not gonna change the message or the story that the speaker has been created for. So instead of that, I usually recommend working with your room or the placement of these speakers to get the best of what these guys have presented, because this is their life's work and it's an amazing package anyway. Now, I think the really cool thing here is the desk filter, which cuts 160 hertz and around there. So it's usually the frequencies that are bouncing off of your desk or your mixing console. But it can go further than that. Some rooms just have problems there. So the question is, what does it actually sound like? Now, if you don't need the desk filter and you go to the desk filter, there you go, and then you roll it off, then what you will experience, it's like the difference or the gap between the bass and the higher frequencies becomes bigger. So if you don't need it, music will start sounding empty. It will start sounding as if you lost the glue, or like the fat between your salad, right? The oil. So it feels like you lost that, and it becomes a bit dry. Now then again, if you really need it, then everything, if you actually have a problem in these frequencies, then everything will sound clearer, and just the mix will open up, and it just feels right. But especially that sort of the mud will go away and everything becomes clearer, and there's more air in the room besides music then. And then again, if you feel like your room or your situation specifically needs more glue or more of this moisture in the music, then you might want to add a bit and bump up the desk filter. But if you bump it up and you don't need to bump it up, then everything will sound muddy again. Usually the high filter, I've had it at -1 or -0.5. That's just my experience, but I think that's more because of my studio space, not because of the speaker. Like I said, it sounds amazing out of the box. Then a few features that, might sound funny if you're a very professional acoustic guy is they also have an RCA input, so I could take my MacBook Pro and just have a 3.5 millimeter jack, put it in there, then take 2 RCAs and connect my speakers, and I don't need a sound card. Of course, you would say it's a horrible waste of acoustic engineering, or why would you have this 5,000 euro pair of speakers and then use a freaking $2 RCA input in there? But there are situations where you need it, I think it's a great feature to have, because it makes them just one step more flexible. It's not like I'm recommending anybody to just never have a sound card with these and only use the RCA input. But there are situations and times where, I don't know, once my sound card, somebody borrowed it, but I still wanted to use my speakers. Well, I could. And, of course, they also have the XLR input. You know what? Actually, I'm going to pause this. Let's go to the back of the speaker. Then it's way easier to talk about this. So, welcome to the back side of the Eve Audio SC4070. As you can see, it's actually a very simple panel here. You can lock the volume, you can lock the filters, so people could not dabble with them in the front if you don't want to. And you can also choose the input volume. Now here's the unbalanced RCA input, and of course there's also an XLR input. Now, what's very important about these speakers is, again, a tiny little detail that they thought about and they fixed. That's a problem that I'm sure you have had issues with. So what happens if you pull the plug on this speaker or any other speaker? They pop, right? Or if you reconnect them, you pull the plug from your sound card or your DAC, they pop. Well, the Eve Audio doesn't do that. So, you know, it's a tiny thing. Also, you know, on the front, let's see if I can actually turn it around. Yeah, we could. So when you turn it on and off, well, I disconnected it from there, but when you turn it on, then the volume is not like full on straight away, but you know, it will wait for like 1-2 seconds, and then the volume will slowly start coming up until it reaches the correct volume. So, you know, I've had so many times where I turn on my speakers and then I forget how loud it was before, or maybe my ears were fatigued and I was turning it up, and then I get like poof, like this shock of sound. Well, the Eve Audio, it doesn't do that. So it doesn't pop if you unplug them accidentally or if you just don't care. You know, the volume doesn't scare you if you turn it on. It's not going to shout at you. It's going to come up slowly. So you know where you're at. Your ears can get used to it. And there's the on and off button on the front, and you can manage all of the filter settings and everything while actually being in front of the speakers and actually listening to music. So I think this sort of engineering is, you know, if you make speakers, then, you know, these are things that they have thought of that really take care of you as a producer or as a person who enjoys music or works in music, that many other, you know, producers or speaker companies should also do, but, you know, most of them haven't. So this is the reason why I wanted to talk about these details, because I think the Eve Audio, in addition to giving you really, really superb sound, is also really taking care of you as a listener by giving you, you know, this setup, which is incredibly detailed, but at the same time not offensive and very smooth. And again, this not offensive and very smooth, and, you know, this sort of uncompromised detail without being harsh. Now, this same experience goes into the entire, you know, design of this thing. So, you know, it can't be harsh. If you turn it on, it doesn't pop, and then all of these things. So great work. Now, one more thing, again, where they've added so much flexibility to the speaker, is that you can enjoy these speakers vertically or horizontally. So if you just, you know, unscrew these and you flip this panel, then you can have it vertically and it will work just the same. So let's say you have a space that doesn't allow for, you know, obviously, you know, if I wanted to use these for my television, then it's hitting my TV, I could flip it up. But jokes aside, you know, in real situations, you know, maybe you prefer one to the other, but maybe you need to use the speaker in different situations, then you really can. Yep. All right, I guess that's it for me. You have a great day, and if you have the money and you want to enjoy good sound, do get these speakers.